Wait until you hear the latest from superstar Russell Brand. We're going to see how his turn to faith is actually part of a larger spiritual renewal that's happening all over the world. But most of all, we're going to see how the life he's now embracing is more extraordinary than anything he could have ever imagined.
The reason I wear a cross is because Christianity, and in particular the figure of Christ, are, it seems to me, inevitably becoming more important as I become more familiar with suffering, purpose, self, and not self. I'm reading the Bible a lot more, and as I've told you before, I'm reading Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Life. When I grew up, Christianity seemed like it was either really irrelevant and old-fashioned and sort of dusty and sort of incense and sort of or they tried to modernise it and it seems just like, right, okay, we're going to talk about Jesus. And like both of those routes seem like, I don't know if there's anything for me. And I suppose it takes a certain amount of adulthood, and it might be different for all of us. For me, it seems that it's taken quite a lot to recognise that I need a personal relationship with God. It occurred to me that if instead of always talking to myself inwardly, I could replace one of those voices with an indwelling God. It says in Galatians, it is our job to die so that as Christ died on the cross, he might be reborn in us. I'm very interested to hear what you think, because for me, my heart is open. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Remember, you could join us on Locals as a member of our community. There's a link in the description that will take you right there so you can support our ongoing work. Stay free.
Now, that was beautiful. I think very sincere. I think it was a quite profound testimony, as it were, coming from Russell Brand. He's, of course, going through a very, very difficult time right now, being investigated for sexual assault, which he does deny, though he admits that he's had a very promiscuous past. But now Russell Brand has changed, and he appears to have changed dramatically. Take a listen to what he said to Tucker Carlson some months back.
I've been blessed with a very practical spirituality, like many desperate people. I need spirituality, I need God, or I cannot cope in this world. I need to believe in the best in people. I need to believe that there are new alliances possible, new ways of us communicating, because I see atrophying and corrupt systems delivering yet more misery to people, and I think it's increasingly necessary that we find new ways of framing the conversation and looking into our hearts when we're speaking. Are we being kind? Are we being loving? Are we being the best that we can be? On whose behalf are we speaking, and what is my intention moment to moment? Am I doing this for self-glorification? Am I doing this because I have obligations to Rumble, the platform I'm on? Or am I doing this because I genuinely believe that a better world is possible, and that world is born individually within each of us moment to moment, and it's possible to change? I genuinely believe in change, and I'm not at my core a misanthrope. I don't believe that we need systems of condemnation. I don't believe that if people aren't heavily policed and heavily controlled, they will behave badly. I believe that we can self-organize. I believe I'm optimistic about your country, and I'm optimistic about mine, and I'm optimistic about the world. But I think the price of that optimism is a degree of reason and an acceptance that many people see the world very, very differently at this time. Right. And we're going to have to allow one another some distance to be who we are, whether that's individually or communally. And these are the areas that interest me. And these are the things that have always interested me. The fact was, I just didn't have enough self-discipline to resist the allure of stardom, and I fell face first into the glitter, and I'm only just pulling myself out now.
Are you looking to get out of your job in this economy and maybe considered a business or franchise opportunity, but you were put off by the $1 million price tag? I could not recommend more. Tapping into the parallel economy with your own online e-commerce store business and gaining a life of freedom. My friend and fellow patriot Alex Alberon has a tremendous track record of building successful online businesses for Turley talkers in our community, and I'm so grateful to have him sponsoring this video today. He's a member of Trump's International Golf Club. He's a close ally of President Trump's, and he's a multi-million-dollar online entrepreneur. He's the real deal. Alex offers an amazing program where he personally helps you launch your own online e-commerce store. So he'll help you with everything from selecting products, creating your store, marketing your products, much, much more. And all for a fraction of the cost to start a traditional business opportunity. Gang, seriously, stop dreaming. Turn your dreams into reality. Discover how you can apply your business ability and Alex's framework for online success to create a positive impact for you and your family. Book a free consultation with Alex to learn more by clicking on the link below or visiting yourecombusiness.com/Turley. Thanks, Alex.
Now, what's happening to Russell Brand there and is turning back, as it were, to a more ancient and eternal way of understanding our current time and predicament is actually part of a much larger trend going on all over the world right now. In fact, scholars such as Rodney Stark, they've argued that we're currently experiencing the single greatest religious renewal the world has ever seen. It's a fascinating phenomenon known as retraditionalization, where more and more populations are returning to custom, culture, and tradition, but most particularly their religious traditions, as rich sources of meaning and truth in the midst of the moral and spiritual bankruptcy of our modern secular globalist era. And it's literally happening all over the world, and it's changing politics and international relations like never before. From the reawakening of Christian civilization in Russia and Hungary, Poland, and Georgia, to the extraordinary electoral success of Hindu nationalism in India. From the Neo-Confucian revival in China to the extraordinary surge in Christian conversions throughout sub-Saharan Africa, religion is, in point of fact, booming in our world today. And Russell Brand looks like he's becoming a very important part of that revival. But it's his distinctively Christian commitment, specifically his embracing of the cross, that I find most compelling. In fact, Russell's beautiful observation that we heard earlier about dying to self and the role of pain and suffering as a means of encountering divine grace is even more profound than perhaps he realizes. The late 2nd century Bishop of Lyon, Irenaeus, who knew St. Polycarp, who himself studied under the Apostle John, he spoke of the way in which God's strength and power is manifested in our weakness and fragility. Irenaeus says that our suffering, our frailty, provides the platform for God's grace to take over once we've relinquished control. All the while at the same time, God inherits our flesh, the weakness of the human body, for himself. In other words, God's strength is manifested in our weakness precisely because God himself inherits our flesh. At the one and the same time, he manifests his glory and strength through us. And this, according to Irenaeus, is when we become truly human, truly united to God and God to us, which means that the original divine pronouncement at the beginning of Genesis, "Let us make man in our image," is only fully complete. It's only fully accomplished in and through Christ. For it's in Christ, the incarnate Word, that God fully inherits our flesh as our flesh is redeemed and vivified in God. Hence Christ's last words on the cross, "It is accomplished." The redemption of humanity is fulfilled. Christ dies on a Friday, the 6th day of creation, the day of Adam, to reveal that it's through death, his death, that the fullness of our human life is revealed. This is why Christ is referred to as the second Adam, the very fulfillment of Genesis 1. He's conceived by means of the infusion of the Holy Spirit. He's born like Adam, surrounded by animals. He passes through the rivers of Eden in his baptism. His cross restores the tree of life. That's why he's surrounded by 2 thieves, just as the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was surrounded originally by the 2 thieves, Adam and Eve. This is why the ancient church sees Mary as the new Eve, who gives up the fruit of her womb and places the fruit back into the tree to restore the world to its original Edenic harmony. And just as Adam's bride came from his side while he was in a kind of death, so you have the soldier piercing the side of Christ in his death, from which flows the water and blood that supplies the baptism and wine for the new creation of his bride, the church. That's the story of the Bible. Paradise lost, paradise restored. That is what Russell Brand is embracing when he's embracing his cross. The tree of life restored.
But first, gang, as many of you know, we have unfortunately been completely and totally demonetized, which is putting our daily communication with one another at risk like never before. Now, we are actively working on getting this resolved, but as things stand, this channel has, without any warning, been totally and completely demonetized. And as Elon Musk said so powerfully last week, the whole point of these demonetization efforts is to deliberately try to make us patriots feel like we're all alone. They want to sever our relationship with each other and force on us a kind of digital solitary confinement so as to demoralize us and discourage us like never before. But to their horror, it's not working. Over this past week, you have carried this channel like never before. We've had more people than ever make the courageous decision to bypass big tech and join our Insiders Club. We have direct access to one another that can never be interrupted by big tech overlords. Over the last 7 days, we've seen literally thousands of you come to our rescue. And you've done it in 2 ways. You've signed up for our free newsletter and you've officially joined our Insiders Club. Those 2 acts alone are enough for us to collectively stand together and never, ever have our relationship severed. So I'm inviting the rest of you to do the same today, just by clicking on that link below and signing up for our newsletter and joining our Insiders Club. You are guaranteeing that there is nothing that big tech can do to get between us and make us feel like we're in a digital solitary confinement. It's as simple as clicking on the link below right now and opting into our free email newsletter. And once you do that, you can financially support us by joining our Insiders Club. Gang, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough for your support during a time like this. You are my heroes, and it will be my mission to express my appreciation for every single one of you each and every week.